Welcome to the 30 Days to Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Holly Smith, author of 30 Days to Happiness. Every week, I will share and bring you inspiration and motivation with actionable steps to find purpose, create better habits, and wake up happy every single day. It's time to build a business and life that you absolutely love. Are you ready to get your formula for happiness? Let's go. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the 30 Days to Happiness podcast. Today, we're talking about how my $1 million clients plan their weeks and hardly get overwhelmed, and how you can eliminate all fear in your life, how you can actually become happier by confronting that fear and really understanding what procrastination actually is. So first things first, I just got back from the gym, hence why I'm in workout gear right now. And I thought I'd just quickly give you guys some inspo because I had on my heart to share this, as I do most of the time in my podcast episodes. What I find is for you to be most in alignment, most creative, well, for me personally, I found I'm most creative after my workouts. When I'm listening to a podcast or even music or just in the flow state, that is when all my inspiration comes. That's when my creativity flows. So it's actually almost better for me to do a workout and then film a podcast episode. So if you're struggling to get into that creative flow, I would highly suggest that you work out or move your blood, oxygen to your brain by exercising or going for a walk or even chatting with a friend or listening to something that's going to heighten your motivation. That's another thing we're going to talk about today, where motivation actually comes from. So the first things first, we really need to understand what procrastination is. Procrastination is not laziness. Procrastination is actually fear or misalignment with what you actually know you're capable of. And we've got a sense of fear or resistance, like I like to call it. We're going to dive deep into that today as well, and how we can remove all resistance and understanding where that's coming from. Sometimes we have to move towards resistance, and then our nervous system protects us and says, don't move towards it. So how can we understand the difference between going towards something and something that's actually going to help you push through the other end and become more resilient? How do we know the difference? And how do we know when we need to take a step back? This fear of this thing that we need to do or think we have to do, we talked about that in the last podcast episode of what you think you should do, you have to do what you want to do, and how that's related to your happiness. But really understanding, like, is this actually in alignment with what I'm supposed to do? Am I feeling in alignment with what I'm supposed to do here, because it's actually not what I'm supposed to do. Now, I think his name's Basher. He's a psychic dude. I don't know what he does, to be honest. But he pops up on my TikTok every now and then. Now, one thing that I have gotten from his videos, and he says it all the time, is whatever is meant to happen is meant to happen. And I don't know, like me a while ago, I drove through a red light, I spilt my milkshake all over me, not milkshake, protein shake. I never drink milkshakes. And all these crazy things happen, and I just literally ended the day just crying. But the thing is, how you start your day is how you end your day. I didn't plan my days the night before. I was negative and annoyed when I first woke up in the morning. How I started my day was how I finished my day. Anxious, annoyed, frustrated, fight or flight mode. My nervous system was heightened. The best thing for you to do is start planning your days the night before. You're going to have a better morning. And we'll talk about morning routine, how to plan your weeks for success shortly. But let's go back to fear. I was having a coffee date with my friend Jess, shout out to you, and we were talking about what our biggest fears were. Now, my biggest fear is rats. I freaking hate rats. Their teeth, they're huge and barley. They've got these big fat rats that makes me actually like shiver and I don't know, almost want to throw up just thinking about rats. And I'm not like that with anything. Now, my second biggest fear is being kidnapped. That was always my biggest fear as a child. And then my third biggest fear now that I didn't realize I had is losing a child, right? I just recently lost my daughter at 20 weeks, which was the most devastating thing I've ever gone through. But now that I'm so scared to lose, Jasmine, my other daughter, or my husband, or, someone else in my life, I'm actually, kind of like fearful after going through that situation. So anyway, we're talking about fears, and Jess brought up that whenever she gets scared, she freezes. And then when we think about like the fight, flight, or freeze, kind of like survival coping mechanisms to deal with things, she says that she freezes. She freezes and she goes, like, just literally freezes when she gets scared, right? And she's scared that she can't see. Like, that's what been always her biggest fear. So I really thought about it the other day, and I've noticed that my coping mechanism is that I fight
and then I will freaking just get out of there. I'll, fly away. And that has been my coping mechanism with a lot of people in the past. And I generally believe it's from unresolved or shoving everything under the rug and not bringing it up beforehand, and then I'll blow up and then I'll fly away. Or something that I strongly believe in, I'll bring it up and then I'll let it go. So I'm just being vulnerable with you guys, and it made me really think, okay, well, how can I deal with things better? Now, the second thing that I saw the other day, and I just thought it was really good, I think Alex Hormozy posted it, and he's just like, if you're in a bad mood for no good reason, then why wouldn't you just be in a good mood for no good reason? And I think keeping your positivity high all the time, it's not always the case. It's very hard to do. But when you full have control over your emotions and the way you think and the way you react, I actually think that's high performance in itself. I actually think that you are more powerful because you feel more in control. Another thing that I think his wife said, she was saying that if you want to feel confident, the number one thing that you need to do is not react. So if I look back at to how I react when I'm fearful, and that can come in a form of anger as well, anger, fear, feeling scared, sadness, procrastination, resistance. These all have different coping mechanisms, but I want to ask you right now, how do you cope? Procrastination, do you freeze? Meaning, do you just go to sleep? Do you just freeze and not do anything? Do you go away, fly away because you don't want to deal with what's going on? Or do you fight, right? Do you fight it? Meaning not, I'm going to fight and actually get it done, because procrastination is doing something that you're fearful of or feels misalignment. And is actually, formed from unresolved fear and misalignment. But fight meaning, do you fight the urge to actually do it? You know you should do it, and then you get all this guilt, and you just hate. Who hates feeling guilty? I hate feeling guilty, right? But the truth is, and this is something that I've realized, is that when you feel guilty, it's your own fault. It's nobody else's fault. Guilt is completely up to you. How you react to a situation, what you take on board. I personally feel guilt all the time. Oh, I didn't do this for my husband, or I didn't say this to my client, or I didn't live in alignment with my values or what I said I was going to do. I feel guilty all the time, honestly, and that's something that I'm working on. But the truth is, we have full control with how others make us feel. If we were full in control with what others said about us and we believed it, then we would be very sad. We'd be very fearful, very self-conscious, right? I can list a million other things. So I want to ask you, what are you procrastinating towards right now, which is causing you to actually fight, fly, or freeze? What unresolved fear or misalignment are you not dealing with right now, and it's causing you to procrastinate? Now, that's the first thing that we really need to figure out before we actually move into the next section. One action step I want you to take this week is to do something every week that you're scared to do. Could be every day. If you want to take it to the next level and you're a high performer like myself, then do it every day. What is one little thing that you can do every single day? It could be messaging that person. It could be smiling and looking at a stranger directly in the eyes when you buy your coffee in the morning. It honestly could be making those cold calls. It could be posting on social media. There are so many things that you can do, but I want you to do that thing. One a day or one a week. You choose. Okay? I sat down with a few things that I was procrastinating on, which, by the way, hardly happens. I hardly procrastinate because I'm a doer, and execution probably is my coping mechanism with a lot of things. But I sat down, I wrote a list of things that I was actually feeling a resistance towards and I hadn't done yet, because I knew there was like a fear of what other people were going to think of me, or maybe miss an alignment again to my values. But I really thought about it and I picked all those things that did align with my values, but I wasn't taking action on, purely because I was scared of what other people were going to think of me. Now, I'm also reading the book Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I'll let you know how it goes. I've been wanting to read it for a while now, so I think that's also going to help with what we're talking about. So yeah, Procrastination, do something that scares you every day, every week, and you're going to build a resilience towards what's been holding you back. You're going to build a resilience towards taking action and executing on those tasks that have just been sitting there. And you will then take all the power over what exactly it is that you've been called to do if you're not feeling purpose filled, because you have taken action, and it will become a habit. Okay, execution is a habit, not execution like I'm going to cut your head off, but execution, let's go. Let's actually take action. Let's take aligned action, not just any action. Because if you just take any action, it's most probably because you don't know what you're doing. That's another form of procrastination, is because you don't have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you don't know what you're doing, I'm sorry, but you're going to procrastinate. Happened to me. I'm looking at my board here, right? I've got like a bunch of sticky notes that I put on my wall. Now, I procrastinated on creating the sales page because there was a lot of tech issues with the high performance retreat that we've just launched, by the way. So if you are a business owner or leader who wants a 2-day experience where you will experience hypnotherapy by Karim Bokta, who has hypnotized people like Lauren Tickner and Nick Bell from Shark Tank, and you're going to walk away with a strategic plan for 2006 for your life and your business, but just without all those limiting beliefs. We're only taking 10 people on Noosa, Peppers on the Sunshine Coast. Send me a DM with the word retreat on LinkedIn or Instagram, or I'll just put the link in the description. Click on it. We're only accepting 10 people. I would love to have you there. Now, going back to what I planned to do, right, with the landing page, there was so many tech issues and I was procrastinating on it and doing other things instead and just stuffing around. What I really needed to do was do my research first, take action, and then I would get the result I'm looking for. Sometimes you just need that 3-step process. Figure it out, create a plan, take action, get the result. Now, write that down. If you're someone who's not like a note taker or doesn't like step-by-step processes and you're procrastinating, maybe you need to start, right? That's just my personality too. So if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. It's fine. All right. Now that we've kind of talked about the key components here with fear, procrastination, they're out the way, it's now time to talk about how my $1 million clients plan their weeks and hardly get overwhelmed. All right. The first thing they do is they plan their days on a Sunday. On a Sunday or a Saturday or even a Friday. I plan my weeks on a Friday. Okay. I plan my weeks on a Friday because it means that I can spend the whole weekend knowing my week in advance is completely ready to rock and roll, and all my content's done as well. So I don't know if you're like me and love to be organized, but Fridays has now become my content and planning days. Instead of getting to Sunday night being like, oh, I just want to spend time with my family, but instead I'm, on the laptop in front of the TV or not spending time with my family because I've got all this work to do. The thing is, what we need to do now is start looking at how can we be more organized. When my clients fill out their habit trackers and their accountability trackers at the end of the week, they get asked very specific questions like what worked, what didn't work, what habits were in alignment, what they missed in alignment. And ultimately, the goal is for them to stick to the habits. And if they're not, there's a reason why. The number one question I ask them is, how can we make this habit so easy you cannot fail? And I love that question because you start thinking outside the box here. Example. All right, let's just say someone really struggles with waking up on time at 6 o'clock. I keep snoozing my alarm, I snooze it multiple times, and I literally don't get up by 7, and I've wasted an hour of my day. That might be the actual issue here. Okay, how can we make this so easy that you don't fail? Okay, well, if you are a coffee fiend like myself, maybe we need to start using the habit loop and use the coffee as the reward. So, number 1, this is how you make a habit easy. Use the habit loop. You're going to get the cue, which is the alarm. Set your alarm so you're waking up at the same time every single day, Monday, Friday. Then what you're going to do, that's your cue. You're going to only set one other alarm 5 minutes apart. So there is no choice. You fall back to sleep, and you've missed half your day, or you're late for work, or you're late for your PT session. The routine is you tapping your alarm off, making your bed, getting out of bed, right? The reward is you say your affirmations, or you get to have a nice hot shower or a cold shower if you're that kind of person, or you go get to make yourself a coffee. Whatever it's going to take to get you out of bed in the morning to start that habit, do it. Some people need the accountability, so they'll book in a PT session at 6:30, which means that they have to actually get there and they've got someone holding them accountable. And most of the time, if they don't show up, they still got to pay the PT, right? That's what I used to do in my days when I was a PT. Yeah, so think about the habit loop. It goes cue, routine, reward. How can you make your habits so easy that you cannot fail? So the best thing for you to do is plan your weeks on a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday. So Monday, you're ready to rock and roll. Now, the first thing I ever do is write a long to-do list. Everything that I need to do. I like to separate it into personal and business. That way, it's just not so messy, or you can do a big long to-do list. It really doesn't matter, especially if you're just planning for business. I like to do mine separately because how I plan my weeks, and on days I have meetings. Like I have meetings on Thursdays, I do other things on Wednesdays and Tuesdays and Fridays, blah, blah, blah. All right. Now, after you get that long to-do list sorted and you've got it all out of your head, a bit like a brain dump, I now want you to write down next to every single task how long it's going to take you. Now, this is a really important step because it actually trains you and helps you understand how long things actually take you. I don't know if you're like me, where you say, oh, I'll be there in 10 minutes, but you know the task is actually going to take you a lot longer than that, but you don't realize it until you finish it. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Helps you understand how long your emails are going to take. It's going to help you understand how long creating this, I don't know, email is going to take, or whatever it is, right? Most of the time, we actually have to add some more time onto that. So the more you get used to doing this exercise and writing down how long you think everything is going to take you, it's going to be so much easier. All right. Now, after that, you've got like, I don't know, messages, LinkedIn. I'm just thinking some of my stuff, content, maybe 2 hours, right? Filming a podcast, 2 hours, like whatever it takes, right? Or whatever you think. Now that you've got that, I want you to group all your small 5 to 10 to 30 minute tasks that could potentially be in an hour. I like to group all of mine in hourly time blocks. Just looks better in the calendar. Now you want to pick your top MITs. If you haven't been following me, you don't know what MIT stands for. It stands for most important tasks. I use it a lot, okay? So you're going to pick your top 3 most important tasks and you're going to preload them in the start of your week, meaning that you will grab those top tasks. Now, these MITs shouldn't take you any longer than 90 minutes, okay? Put them at the start of your week when you've got the most energy, or the days where you have the most energy to actually achieve these, because they are your biggest tasks. They might be your longest tasks, which take a long time. So you're going to put them on Mondays and you're going to preload your week, meaning you put your hardest tasks at the start of the week, and then by Friday, all you have to do is plan your weeks and do your content if you've got a business, okay? So after you've got that, then you can start grouping the hourly MITs or groups into other time blocks. So if you do not use Google Calendar or Outlook, or you do not have an online calendar, you need to get one, right? Because the cool thing is it actually pops up on your phone as a notification, and it's a great reminder that you have this meeting coming up, you have to go to the gym, or you get to go to the gym. Okay, some people, including my clients, will time block everything, meaning the time they wake up, their morning routine, when do they go to their gym, when they're going to eat their lunch, their nighttime routine. Okay, so that's how you're going to plan your weeks. Now, the most important thing here is that you actually do these things. You actually do these tasks. You actually do these MITs, right? And you tick them off every day. Highly suggest that you don't have any more than 3 MITs a day. It then becomes a to-do list and not important priorities. Okay, so that's what you're going to do, and that's how you're going to plan your weeks, right? Even time block in your calendar when you're going to plan your weeks. Might be on a Friday morning, might be on a Sunday afternoon, whatever works for you. I like to actually sometimes do mine Friday. If I don't get a chance Friday, I'll do it lunchtime on a Sunday when my daughter naps. It just means that I get to spend some quality time with her as well, and I'm not working, because that is a big no-no for me, is working on my laptop while she's awake. I will not do that. So sometimes, for example, last week, I had to finish this landing page for the retreat. I had a few tech issues to fix, and so what I did was I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, spent an hour doing that, spent an hour in my Bible study that I'm doing. So I'm currently doing a Bible in the year. And that's what I did this morning. I woke up at 5, I did my reading, I did my journaling, I did a meditation, I wrote down some podcast ideas, and then that was an hour filled. And then my daughter woke up, I had a shower, got to do my hair and makeup, get ready for the gym, and all of that. And my daughter woke up and I was ready to rock and roll. So if I didn't wake up on time, I would have not done any of that. I probably wouldn't have filmed this podcast today because I would have been in a crap mindset. Or I don't know where I would have been. I think you can have full control over how you feel every single day by your morning routine. Now, your morning routine starts the night before. So let's go to your daily planning. You can use the exact same framework how you plan your week for your day. It will just take less time, like 5 minutes. Something that I have been doing for a while now and absolutely love is writing down 3 wins before I go to bed from that day, and then 3 wins that you think you're going to have for the following day, right? So you're manifesting these 3 things before they even happen. Most of the time when I write these 3 wins down for the next day, I actually just naturally manifest it. I remember one time it happened with one of my workshops. I was like, okay, I want one person to buy my workshop. I woke up the next morning and they bought my workshop. It's just like the coolest thing ever. But you must take action, okay? So if you can write that in your end of day reports before you go to bed, let's look at nighttime routine for a little bit. It's really important if you want to have a good sleep that you stay away from technology 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed and you do something that supports your vision. They say the last vision or the last memory that you have in your brain, imagination or vision, before you go to sleep actually affects your long-term behaviors, which is really quite interesting when you look into it. But if you're watching a horror movie and then you go straight to bed, in your subconscious mind, that's going to affect you for your life. And that's why we started watching the show Animal Kingdom, me and my husband, and it's just too much for me. Like, it's good, but it's just too much. It's a bit like, reminds me when I watched the show Shameless, not a few years ago, gosh, it was probably like 10 years ago. And I got halfway through and I was like, I've just started noticing myself was super negative. I had a poverty mentality. I just wasn't myself. Stopped watching it. 2 weeks later, I was back to my normal, positive, motivated self. Same with Animal Kingdom. Finding myself to be really angry when the week we started it. And I was like, where did this anger come from? Right? There's probably a few other things in my life, but it's since we started watching that show. I think a lot of the time we don't actually realize how much these shows actually affect us in our soul health and our subconscious mind. So if we go back to our nighttime routine, try and not do anything like that before you go to sleep. Think about, if you want the best life for yourself and you want your subconscious mind to be happy and clean and in the direction of manifesting the life that you've been called to live, then think about what's going to actually support you in the next, hour before you go to bed. It might be journaling, it might be planning your days the night before, it might be reading. I read before I go to bed, and I've been doing this forever. I read every single night, and that is my sleep trigger. So you can create your own sleep trigger. You can do foam rolling and stretching, you can do a meditation, you can do breath work. There's so many things you can do. We've got to pick what you like. Reading is an easy one. It's something I enjoy. I'm actually learning. So right now I'm reading The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. She's awesome. I haven't read the book yet. I'm going to read it. Okay, and I started last night. So find a sleep trigger. Now, what happens with a sleep trigger is that when you train yourself to do the same thing at the same time every single day, your brain automatically associates it with something like sleep. Okay? For example, if someone wakes up in the morning and you habit stack your affirmations with brushing your teeth, which is actually a very, very common thing I tell people to do, if they keep forgetting to say their affirmations, you have grown up, unless you haven't grown up brushing your teeth morning and night. Most of us here in Australia do brush our teeth morning and night, right? And it's become a habit. It's unconscious. And when we go to bed, we're like, gross, I need to brush my teeth. Unless you're that person who just absolutely doesn't care. So it's a really great idea to, habit stack your affirmations with brushing your teeth, right? With something that you do unconsciously and it's just automatic, right? So what I'm getting at here is that you want to find something that helps you create a trigger. For example, it's kind of like going back to that loop, cue, routine, reward. When one of my workshops last year, we were talking about, okay, well, how can someone start going to the gym when they really hate it or they're struggling to get started? Cue could literally be put on your shoes. The routine is grab your pre-workout, get in the car, drive to the gym. And the reward is feeling so good after your gym workout. Okay, so that's a really great circle or loop, whatever you want to call it, and a great way for you to create a new habit. Okay, so before you go to sleep, you want to start planning your days the night before. You want to wake up and you want to know what you're doing every hour of the day. I time block absolutely everything, all my appointments, all my meetings, when I'm going to eat lunch, when I'm going to go to bed. And I don't be too hard on myself if I don't stick to it 100%, because things happen, like, might have to go to hospital with my daughter, or might have to go help somebody, or this and that, right? Now, when that happens, like, a lot of my clients fly all the time, like literally, they're so busy. But when this happens and they have a beautiful routine planned out and they don't actually achieve it, and they come to me at the end of the week, they're like, I'm so sorry, Holly, I haven't done anything. I'm like, that's okay, but it's important to stick to the things that are actually going to move the needle forward for you. So what happens is, if you do not achieve something or don't complete one of your MITs one of your days, it's really important that you actually move it to another time block, and you don't get into the habit of constantly just always pushing it to the side, because what will happen is you'll end up with a massive to-do list at the end of every week, which is pile onto your monthly to-do list and then your yearly to-do list, and you'll look back and think, wow, I didn't get any of this done, and you have guilt, right? We just talked about guilt earlier today. Now let's talk about like the whole overwhelm side of things. A lot of my clients, when they come to me at the time, they're focusing on daily tasks. They're in survival mode. They're just trying to get through this day. The thing is, when you're stuck in that kind of survival mode and you're just like, just get through this day, you forget about all the vision activities. You forget about all those things that are actually going to move the needle forward for you 12 months from now, and not just for today. And that's why people get 12 months in and they're like, I haven't achieved hardly anything, because they're either looking or measuring themselves from an ideal of where they should be and not from the progress they have made, or they're actually not making any progress at all because they're not focusing on any vision activities. So the first thing we want to do is ask ourselves, what can we delegate? What can we automate in our lives? What can we eliminate, which is not serving us? Delegate, automate, eliminate, outsource is the last one. What do you need to outsource? What are you procrastinating on? Maybe make that list too. Okay, so that's the first thing you're going to want to do every single time you feel overwhelmed, you're living in the day-to-day, and you forget about the vision. Write down, I've got actually a 10 things that I wanted to achieve this year. Okay, and I look at it every single day. It's a great reminder of my vision and focusing on what I've actually wanted to do this year, and not just the day to day, right? Because if you get stuck in the day to day, you get to the end of the week and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. What have I actually achieved? You don't want to feel like that as a leader or a business owner, okay? You want to feel like you're making momentum every single day, every single week, right? The next thing is making a list of money-making activities. Make a list of money-making activities forces you to actually look directly on vision producing assets, okay, or money producing assets, with things that are going to move the needle forward for you. Now, by doing this, you actually want to start putting them into your day to day. If you can't delegate it, automate it, outsource it, or eliminate it, you're going to want to take action on it as soon as possible, or make it a reoccurring thing. Now, a lot of the time people will procrastinate on answering their LinkedIn messages like I did for a while, and what you want to start doing is setting a time to do it every day, so it becomes a habit. Try and habit stack it with an environment, because that changes your behavior, or something physical. Like, I love to go to a coffee shop and get out of my office, because it forces me to grab a cup of coffee. Not forces me, I love coffee, so it's not a force. It enhances my productivity because I'm out of my environment where I eat, sleep, drink, not in my office, but in my home. And it's interesting because it's been scientifically proven that horses, like, I used to be a horse rider, if you're new here listening, and I was an equestrian girl. I used to sell and break in horses and compete every weekend. But what we found was that if we exercise and actually train the horses in the exact same environment in the paddock that they ate in, they slept in, they lived in, they were way less, I guess, energized and motivated to actually do the work. So we created an arena, not in the paddock that they ate, sleep, and drank, right? They performed way better. Now, it's funny I'm talking about animals, but humans are very similar. We need to remove ourselves to change our behaviors from an environment which is not serving us, okay? Now, it might be the opposite for you, where your office is like your sanctuary. It's where you feel in the flow state, you feel comfortable, you feel great. It also forces you to do things when you're not outside the office. So you've got to find what works for you. But a lot of my clients who are procrastinating or overwhelmed or just feel like they're not actually doing the task, pair it with an environment that you really enjoy. Go to the beach, go to a cafe, drink your favorite coffee. I don't know, go for a nature walk and sit on the top of a mountain and do some work. I don't really care. Just get it done. Otherwise, you're just going to keep procrastinating on it. So ultimately, do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes to build new habits. Do whatever it takes, obviously, for your own good and the positivity. make sure it's healthy. But do whatever it takes to change your mood. Do whatever it takes to forgive people. Do whatever it takes, because if you want to live a happy and healthy life, you need to take control. Now, in my life group last week, we actually talked about like actually letting go of control. I'm going to save that for a whole nother episode, but there's a difference between letting go of control completely and putting all your faith in a higher power, or just letting go, right, for something you don't have control over, and actually dealing with the things that you do have control over. Okay, so we'll talk more about that in the next episode, but I hope you got some value today. Remember, click the link in the description or send me a DM on Instagram or LinkedIn with the word retreat if you want more info on the retreat. It's here at Noosa on the Sunshine Coast. 2 days. It's a 2-day accelerator, all meals, everything's all included. We're going to be doing board breaking on the beach, sunrise meditations, but most importantly, it's actually a 2-day powerful workshop, right? This is not a green juice retreat. This is a 2-day powerful workshop where you will come out of it completely free of all limiting beliefs, all fear, like we talked about today, and with a very clear strategic plan for your business and your personal life for 2026. So click the link in the description. Otherwise, please share this episode with someone who you think could benefit from it. You have a great day. Make sure you stay happy.
It's now time to grab that knowledge that you gained and put it into action, because knowledge without action is wasted opportunity. Our mission is to help 10 million people wake up happy every single day. And with your help, we could actually double this number. Happiness is contagious. So remember to share it with a family member, colleague, or a friend. It might just change their life. Remember to subscribe and get your copy of 30 Days to Happiness.